makes the coolest stickers.
You know,
I should know, because I have most of them. There's all these folders,
you know,
and pens, and backpacks, and stationery,
you know.
and stickers. Of course, stickers.
No one remembers your successes. Everybody remembers your dogs.
Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, hi, hello, welcome. I am Sherrilyn, and I'm so glad you found me. If you're not new here, welcome back. Thank you for joining me every single upload. I love and I appreciate you so much. I'm going to apologize in advance because I have you gathered around here today to talk about how big of a piece of crap Lisa Frank is. Those are words I never would have thought when I think of Lisa Frank, but I just watched the Glitter and Greed, the Lisa Frank story on Amazon Prime. It's a documentary, and this is just another reminder that we just never know who the fork we are making icons and like multi-millionaires. And I just can't believe how long people stayed silent, or I guess rather how long it took for their voices to be heard about what this woman is actually all about. So again, like, apologies to all of my 80s and 90s babies who are going to never be able to look at like rainbow dolphins and like cheetah spots and glitter the same. But just remember, like, I'm only here to summarize, all right? We don't shoot the messenger. I am as deeply upset as all you are. Okay, so we're in this together. Before we get started though, I do have a quick message for you. The holiday season is here, and if you are like me, you're probably looking for that perfect, unique gift for friends or family or both. And I've got something that is not only thoughtful, but also super useful, thanks to today's sponsor, Fume. Seriously, we love Fume around here, and so glad for their continued support on the channel. If you have never heard of Fume before, it is an innovative, award-winning device that helps make the transition of breaking bad habits much less stressful and easier to attain. Now, if you've never purchased or used a Fume before, just so that you know, this is not a vape. I have seen that misconception. There is no vapor. The core has a natural flavor in it. So you draw flavor to your mouth. You're not inhaling vape or smoke or any harmful chemicals. It's the movement and getting that satisfaction of flavor in your mouth, nothing going to the lungs. Okay, so this does not contain smoke, nicotine, toxins. Fume continuously invests in third-party studies to ensure the safety of their products, and they are backed by doctors in the US. They also continuously have their customers in mind with how the device can be used even more usefully. This moonlights as a very satisfying fidget device. I honestly don't fly without it, just to like channel my anxiousness. You can make clicking noises with it. It's got magnetic components. They also have things like the base, which they've added to hold your device, but it's also got like a nice grounding weight to it. And now they've just added the topper, which you can put over the mouthpiece for a nice soft rubbery alternative. If you want to check them out, or even if you want to help somebody build better habits, or even just give them something nice and fun to channel like relaxing fidgetiness into, Fume makes an awesome gift for the holidays. Head on over to tryfume.com/sherrilyndale and use my code sherrilyndale to get a free Fume topper when you order the Journey Pack, which is a perfect addition to make your gift even more special. And if you're lucky, you could even win one of Fume's limited edition gold-plated devices this holiday season. Again, you can check them out at tryfume.com/sherrilyndale, or just scan the QR code on the screen and grab yours today. Thank you so much, Fume, for your continued support on the channel. We love you. Okay, quick riddle. I love that everybody gets excited about the riddles. I apologize when I forget them, but I have one for you today. What begins with T, ends with T, and has T in it? I think I'm going to stump some of you. Probably not. I'm always like the only one who doesn't get them, but that's fine. Keep guessing. It makes me feel better, and I love all the answers. Okay, so Lisa Frank. For many of us, if you grew up in the 90s, Lisa Frank is a name that's synonymous with our childhood nostalgia, okay? She, painted this world with rainbows and unicorns and glitter. And then we find out that behind all that beauty and magic is a much darker story. One of very toxic workplace culture, loads of legal drama, and like personal trauma and turmoil. Also, shout out to Tracy Egan Maury. I'll have her article on Jezebel linked below. There's oodles of information and lots that I got from there as well. And she's also in the documentary, but yeah, I'll have it on link below so you can go through. She's even got like links to all these like court documents too, so you can see it for yourself. So let's just we're kind of doing like a Cliff Notes version of everything for you today. We'll just like lightly sprinkle on like going into the back of the beginning, just a little bit of background information, because a lot of people like didn't like, they knew the brand Lisa Frank, obviously, with like the cartoons and the brightness and everything, but she herself is actively stayed, behind the scenes, even though for her coworkers, very like, anyways, for us as the public, hasn't been like the face, So Lisa was born in Bloomfield Hills, which is a city just north of Detroit, I believe, where that is routinely ranked as being in the top 5 wealthiest cities in America. And her dad ran Detroit Aluminum and Brass, which is a public traded company that was founded by her grandfather and his brothers in 1925. So this was kind of like, carried on generationally, I guess, but that wasn't the legacy that she wanted to go, or carry on. Come on, Sherrilyn, pull it together. So in an interview with Urban Outfitters, she says that she has just always been into art, like her whole life. Her dad was an art collector. Her mom had like a little kiln in the basement and they made pottery together. And so I think she said from the ages like 5 and on, she went to art classes, and that kind of like just became her life. She was always coloring, always into art, huge in the art scene, all right, from a young age. She goes on to say that her entrepreneurial instinct first kicked in during the time that she was in University of Arizona, and she would purchase handmade pottery and jewelry from local Native American communities and then sell them at a markup back home in Michigan. And she's like, I like very proud being like, oh, like, and that did so well that she would like go to them and like direct them on, switching it up and what kind of jewelry was going to make. Because, there's nothing better than a white woman coming in and telling you how to erase your culture. Am I right? Feels icky. Great just way to kind of lay the foundation of where we're going. So eventually she did start creating her own original designs. By the time she was like 20, she created like a plastic jewelry company named Sticky Fingers that got picked up in Neiman Marcus and Bloomingdale's. And then that collection inspired her to, kind of branch out and also design stickers and buttons. She ended up getting the rights to Betty Boop, Popeye, Mighty Mouse. And then she said she would do things like put like Betty Boop on a unicorn and then sell that. So in 1979, she renames the company from like Sticky Fingers, and this is where Lisa Frank Incorporated was born. That same year, so she was 25 at this time, is the first $1 million order that she got from Spencer's Gift, which I'll give it to her, like 25 years old, first, $1 million purchase from like a big brand. I wonder how big. I would assume Spencer's was just getting started there. I could also be just talking out of my butt right now. Because like they're so big. But anyways, very irrelevant, Sherrilyn. Now, if you look for photos of Lisa Frank, there are like none. I'm sure there will be more now that this documentary is released, because there's a lot of footage and photos in there. But so much of that footage and those images, I mean, like basically all of it, had never been seen by the public before, which is fine. Privacy is fine. It's something that she said in 2012 when she was interviewed for The Daily that I think just shines a little bit of light on how Lisa perceives herself. And she's quoted saying, "In my own little way, I understood Michael Jackson." So like insinuating that her level of fame was comparable to Michael effing Jackson, all right? And not to say that she wasn't a household name in like the 80s and 90s, but I don't know, like Michael Jackson, no. When I do think of her though, like I do think of like, the color folders and like the erasers and pencil cases. And in Canada, we call them duo tanks. I learned from the documentary. I don't know if this is just like an American thing, but I'm assuming like the people who were interviewed were American. And you guys call them trapper keepers. So adorable. I was like, what's a trapper keeper? And it's a duo tank. And I'm sure you're like, what the fuck's a duo tank? I get it. So during the peak This company was making $60 million a year in sales. And if you can like think of that in the 90s, bank, which makes what her employees allege about the whole working environment and their wages very upsetting. One employee was quoted saying that Lisa Frank is notoriously known in Tucson as the world's, quote, shittiest employer, and many people agree. Former employees of Lisa Frank Incorporated, they described the company's work environment as grueling. At times it was dehumanizing. They alleged 12-hour workdays, some people having no days off, with low wages, so low that some employees actually had to rely on food stamps just to get by and feed their family. And when I say some, like I'm quite confident in saying like quite a bit, because there was several employees that were interviewed for this documentary and just like their firsthand account. So you still have to think about like all of the people collectively who are sharing the same story and experience. And there was this one man on the doc who broke my heart. Like he literally is talking about being so stressed out with the workload and still not being able to pay his bills that he had planned out, you know, taking his life. Also, according to former employees, their office was a place of silence. Coworkers were not allowed to speak to one another, and they also said that management would secretly and illegally like record their phone calls to see like what they were talking about like when they were in the office. They speak about this quite a bit in the documentary. Again, like I'm giving little sprinkles of like a lot of problematic stuff, but it's always so much more interesting to watch it and hear like firsthand accounts. But they spoke about the bi-monthly newsletter that would get sent out, and it was called Frankly Speaking. And basically this would like it was not like this is what we're doing, you know, like, and I don't know, I feel like some work letters like or newsletters, they're cute. Actually, my management just started like sending out newsletters, and I love it. It gives like this inside look into like the people who are working behind the scenes, and I don't know, like fun tips and stuff like that. That's what I think when I think about this. This is not what was going on there. So within it, it's like telling employees like how they are to behave and conduct themselves, particularly regarding like how they were expected to interact with their boss, not just Lisa Frank, but the CEO, James Green, who was her husband. We will get into him in a minute. And then there were also like frequent memos that are just like sent out all the time, just like changing up the rules and stuff, like increasing restrictive company policies, things like telling, you know, kind of like loosely threatening people, being like there are no visitors to be here, including family members, which is kind of, I can't imagine like what that would have felt at the time, especially being in the 90s, if you knew like your parent or like relative worked at a place like Lisa Frank. You know, you'd probably want to like at least like go and check it out. Like this building is like massive and like so bright. It's everything that you think that it would be. And like inside it's just this like dark hell, colorful dark hell. But if you didn't, like if somebody got caught or whatever, like the penalties were like pretty severe. It ranged from verbal abuse, lots of name calling, screaming, even automatic termination. And then on top of that, like more restrictions were added. They were like essentially just like, it feels like in a prison that they were able to go home at night. There was one instance where after discovering, like this was James, the CEO, after discovering that somebody had left the office 10 minutes early, he became enraged, goes down to the warehouse manager and tells him to put chains and padlocks on all of the downstairs doors so that, in his words, the staff can't escape. And then we learn in the doc that the manager was like, legally, no, we cannot do that. That's a safety hazard. You can't lock people in the freaking building. What are you talking about? Me personally, I think one of the more disturbing allegations in this story is that there was a 51-year-old employee who was in the accounting department that reportedly collapsed and died at his desk, with work just expected to like carry on as if nothing had happened. Basically, like as like paramedics are in, like, come in, wheel the body out. It's like, nothing to see here, like, get back to work. Another employee alleged that he was fired one of the many, many nights that staff was expected to stay late, and he asked to leave just like a little bit early, like still stay late, but leave a little bit early because he's diabetic and his levels were so low that like he needed something to eat. And of course, like the next day they didn't say that that was the reason because again, like lawsuit, but he was like, it was really convenient. Like I had done that. That was the only thing that I had asked to do was just leave a little bit early. There's lots of examples like this about like just them not giving an absolute shit about anybody, like nobody that works for them and essentially like makes their business work the way that and function the way that it is. Like great if you've got like your art and your plans and you know a great idea, that's fine, but as you grow like to a company of that standard, you can't do that by yourself. Like you need other people. So these people are literally making your business and life and success what it is. And just to be treated like absolute garbage. I can't even imagine what that feels like, just being like, oh okay, like I'm here like just to lift you up and like just verbally abuse me as well. And one of her long time employees, she was also in the documentary, and she talked about this one time where she was supposed to go to a toy fair with Lisa in New York, and then the day before the trip, her husband gets in this serious ATV accident. Like we're talking broken ribs, riddled in broken bones. He needed to get airlifted to hospital. That's how bad it was. So obviously this woman's like, I need to go and stay with him at the hospital. And I guess Lisa just like starts yelling at her saying like, you're making a really big mistake. Like you will not get this opportunity again. And not understanding that like why this woman would want to be beside her husband. Cause she was like, it's like, this is what you get. Like you go out on an ATV, like that's what you expect. Like this is his fault. His fault that he got in an accident. So she was treated so poorly after like she left her job. And these stories, yeah, there's tons of them. Like watch the documentary, but it's just so wild for me that people who don't like actually know her, you hear the name and you are like filled with like this like whimsical, and you just think like she's probably like so cheery and like just like her drawings, you know, like nice and bright and full of love and happiness. And then you hear these employees being quoted saying like every day working for her, filled with stress. Some of them even in an interview said that when they heard Lisa's voice like come into the office, or if she was like on the speakerphone, it made their blood run cold because of how verbally abusive she was. Like they were like triggered just by like hearing her. The really unfortunate thing too is in this situation where you're like, okay, like we're getting treated so poorly, gonna leave, or you know, like look for a job, wait till we get hired, find something. But leaving was also super difficult. I guess the company just like failed to give promised severance packages. They fought unemployment benefits, took a lot of like former employees to court. There's also a lot of former employees that sued them for even just like their final paychecks or sales commissions. And like I said, if you go to the link in my description of the article on the Jezebel, you can see like numerous lawsuits that were filed against Lisa Frank Incorporated. Now, many of the assumptions for the conditions being the way that they were was that it stemmed from Lisa's husband, James Green, since he basically was the face of the company, especially after they got married. And James Green, he's something. If you watch the documentary, you'll see. He initially was hired as the head artist. Now he says he's like the man who created the iconic Lisa Frank logo that we know. And he eventually became her business partner, then her husband. And when they got married, Lisa Frank gifted him 49% of the company. So like as a wedding gift, you know. They go on to have two sons, Hunter and Forrest. That's like the cheetah and tiger of the Lisa Frank brand. They're named after them. And their marriage lasted 10 years before eventually ending in a very contentious divorce. I'm not surprised that there was also like the messiness of this trickling into the business and like affecting staff. People were basically backed into corners to pick sides. There were drug allegations going around, finger pointing. James was accused of having an affair with their longtime head of HR, a woman named Rhonda Roulette, who by the time that all of this was going on had been promoted to senior vice president. Both Rhonda and James deny this. She says she's been happily married for 50 years and never stepped outside of her marriage, but who knows? The woman is also in the documentary, and in my opinion, just like, you can tell that she's just cold as ice. Like, she don't give no fucks. According to several employees, there's rumors that they were, that they did think that rumor was true about an affair of sorts. They definitely thought that they were boning. They also thought they were doing some cocaine. Hefty actually amounts of cocaine. They said that there would be days that like James would come into the art department and he'd be like super sweaty and just like paranoid, looking all over the place, walking fast, just pacing back and forth. And the employee who said this was like, it would be just like a regular day, like nothing to stress about, everything going along swimmingly. And I mean, we don't know. Again, this is things that they have denied doing. I will say, based off the interviews that he did in the documentary, he is super high strung and intense, and I think just has the capability of being quite mean. So I don't even know if drugs are needed for that, or maybe like they like intensified it more. But in 2005, 16 people who had worked for Lisa Frank submitted sworn affidavits in a lawsuit brought against James, attesting to his management style, saying that he was prone to fits of rage, loud profanity, like he would just berate you, rip you up from like one side to the other, and publicly like berate you in front of others. He was described as being abusive, arrogant, extremely difficult to work with, and several employees even witnessed him throwing chairs and like other objects like all around the office and stuff. So another just quick little tidbit, just to kind of give you an idea of like his type of personality. Someone shared that he wouldn't learn employees' names. Like he couldn't be bothered to learn the people that are working for him and making him money, their names. So he would just give them nicknames that he saw fit, and they weren't nice. There was one person who worked there that said they had a friend who, this is their words, like describing the friend as maybe not the most attractive girl. She described her as like a little bit like portly, and James used to refer to her as that guy. Like, yeah. And I get it. Once seeing the documentary, it's like, yeah, that seems like it would probably freaking check. Now, he's not a nice guy. So James admits that, yeah, he was a part of the problem. He owns that he probably did not make the working place the best. But then he also tries to like shift some of that blame, being like, and I know why people would feel like that because I was the face. Because after he and Lisa got married and had kids, she didn't stay like around the office. She didn't really come in at the office much. There were employees who said that they worked there for months and months prior to even seeing her for the first time. And they'd be like, have you seen her? She was like this like illusion. And then she'd actually come in and people would be like, oh, she is real. So he says like, oh yeah, naturally, like it's on me. And he'd always say like, oh, it's always blame James. And in the documentary, you see he literally has blame James tattooed on him. So regardless, the whole situation got messy. They were in court for years over their divorce. And then Lisa, like I said, was also in court with other people, like past employees. She was even in court with Rhonda's husband, like the one that she alleged of having an affair. Lots and lots of messiness. So in terms of the divorce, though, James wanted to sell the company as a whole. And ultimately, because Lisa's name is the company, like Lisa Frank, he was forced to sell his shares back into the company, and then it carried on. So after the divorce, things even within their family got really convoluted and I don't know, I guess like dismantled. Their oldest son is in the documentary, and he talks about not speaking to his mother and hasn't for years. He talked about having similar treatment that her employees endured, as well as like being legally intimidated by his own mother. So he's openly said like, I don't talk to her. She's fake. Everything that you know of Lisa Frank is from my father, James Green, the art, the success, the business soaring to what it did. He does not mince words when it comes to how he feels about his mom at all. So after James's departure of the company, it is clear that he was not the only problem, and some influencers and an indie makeup brand learned this the hard way. In the documentary, we hear about what she did to a fella named Peter and a gal named Jessica of a makeup company called Glamour Dolls Cosmetic. And I think this story itself was like where I was like, wow, like shows that this woman can't possibly have like a soul or a morsel of morals in her body. Okay. So these people, they were an up and coming makeup brand, just like an indie makeup brand. They were at a turning point in their business, they said, where they were feeling like, you know, they were getting really good traction. Finally, people were starting to hear about them. And at the point of like, just at that cusp of like making a profit from all of the hard work and investments that they had done into their product and their brand. And they were wanting to break through that, you know, that threshold and do a big collab. So in 2016, they reach out to Lisa Frank. They like look for a number. They're like, you know, how do we get a hold of Lisa Frank? Because there was such that movement of, you know, a revitalized love of the 90s at that time, and they thought like who's more 90s than Lisa Frank, especially like for a cosmetic collaboration. I can totally, like, that's brilliant. So they track down Lisa Frank and they're like, are you like still around? Are you still doing your thing? She's like, yeah. And so within a few weeks, there was a licensing agreement done up. Okay, so this is important. This was made June 6, 2016, and Lisa required a guaranteed minimum royalty of $100,000 and $25,000 quarterly advanced, and then a 15% of net sales. Okay, now since they're at this point of only just having like, you know, getting to the point of like being able to make money back from their initial investment, they need to come up with the money because this is the collaboration that they think is going to be worth it and is going to like just get them to the point of, you know, launching them. So they decide to launch a Kickstarter campaign, which is like a crowdfunding platform. You pitch your prototypes, your whole business plan, go on there and like launch it, and then people can donate and invest in it. So based on accounts from Glamour Dolls side and people from Kickstarter who met with Peter, Jessica, and Lisa Frank at their office, Lisa was on board and thought it was a good idea to like drum up excitement for this collab. So they're all in this meeting. Jessica says she's so excited because, like many of us, this is like her childhood icon. Of course, like I think you probably think of Lisa Frank as like a character or whatever, but you know, she's meeting her. And some people say don't meet your idols, some do. I definitely am like, yeah, probably shouldn't, or like be careful like which ones you want to meet. But yeah, so she would say don't meet them, because at this, after meeting Lisa, she's like, okay, yeah, there were some red flags. One of them being that she would not take a photo with her at this meeting. Like, you guys are gonna do this like collab and stuff like that. She's like, no photos. She's like, okay, whatever, you know, like she's Michael Jackson, you guys. So she didn't think much of it. Jessica respected it. I guess Lisa let her take a picture of her nails or whatever, because they were like very like on brand for like, you know, like the leopard rainbow, whatever. So that was all she was able to do. So the meeting with Kickstarter went well. And then Jessica says after her and Peter and Lisa go for coffee, and Jessica is just like so pumped. She pours everything into this company and like the ideas that she has, and so she wants to, you know, show Lisa some of these ideas that she has for the collab. And I guess like she shows her this leopard print makeup brush, literally like Lisa Frank vibes to the T. And Lisa was like, I guess pissed. Like she said, like the whole like tone changed, and she was just like, no. She didn't want her to show anything. She's like, oh, okay, like do you want to say that? She was just like, no, like completely like brushed her off. And she thought, okay, you know what? That's fine. Who am I? Fair. It's Lisa. So she didn't want to think too much into it, and lets Lisa think what she wants, or respects what Lisa's saying, and takes it as it is. She's like, I still want to move forward, and I can understand that this is her brand. So let's see what she's got for us. So after the meeting, Lisa messages Peter, and she's like, from now on, all of our correspondence is like only you and I. Jessica is not to be CC'd in this anymore. So Jessica hears this, obviously is not happy about it, but agrees, like, let's just keep Lisa happy, because business-wise, I think that this is still a really smart move. So the Kickstarter moves forward. Basically, if you pledge money to that Kickstarter, you were offered different tiers, and then you could get certain perks like based on what tier you were. So like, for example, like the smaller ones were like lip glosses and like maybe a brush or whatever. And then the bigger ones are the whole line, right? You get it. And they killed it on Kickstarter. Candy Johnson, like OG YouTuber, just, oh my God, that's who I imagined I would want Lisa Frank to be like just the sweetest, bubbly, colorful, kindest person like Candy Johnson. So who better to announce it than Candy Johnson? So she does. And this thing goes viral. They like surpass their goal. People are stoked. They're having the whole same feelings of like reliving their childhood nostalgia now being moved over to like makeup. And as this is going on, it's on social media, like in real time, they're getting all excited. People are tweeting, they're tweeting at Lisa. She's responding, thanking people. She's sending thank you notes to some of the Kickstarter pledgers who supported. So this isn't, again, important. You're probably like, Sherrilyn, what the fuck are we doing? Okay. It's important to know about all this Kickstarter stuff and that Lisa was on board. All right. And this is where things go horribly. So the Kickstarter was launched in February 2017, and the intention was, which was mentioned on the campaign, of going immediately into manufacturing. All right, so like now that they got everything, like we were ready to go. They had already had like all of the prototypes, the designs, what they were wanting to do. So now they're going into manufacturing, and people were going to allegedly have their products by September of that year. And then they did allow themselves saying like the end of the year at the absolute latest. Obviously, since Lisa's name is on the product, she's having to okay the steps of production and like, yeah, that's normal. But this is where Jessica and Peter say that she became unreasonably difficult. It was basically like she just wanted to run out as much time as humanly possible, and then at like the last day of deadlines come back with like outrageous changes. For example, they talk about it in the documentary, a makeup bag, and it was so cute when you see like the prototype that they were going to do. The Kickstarter said it was going to be this like vegan leather makeup bag, and after her going back and forth with altering the original agreed upon design, she then says like at the very last second she wants the entire bag redone and have it in plastic vinyl. So you have to like think about this whole thing is like process. It's not just about the design too, but like you're still waiting for the manufacturer to do it, then the prototypes to come in and look at all of it, and then she's sending it back to tweak this and this and this. Once again, I get it from like a brand standpoint, but you just like can kind of understand, and as we learn how this ends, what was happening here. All right. So it was like you pull it and you stretch it to the very bottom, and then it's like, no, like I want to completely redo it. So she goes from the vegan leather that was on the Kickstarter to wanting it to be plastic vinyl. And they're like, okay, well, we can't, like we all agreed prior, and we've already told our backers that it's vegan leather. And she's like, no, I want vinyl. And basically like you can say like plastic is vegan. So this continues to go on. There's a lot also you'd see in the documentary, like behind the scenes, where she pretty much had Jessica and Peter let their entire team go by the end of all of this because she didn't think that they aligned with her. At the end of the day, this is like a collab, right? Like you're doing one collab, you're not becoming on the brand, like she just didn't think like anybody was good enough. She just kind of wanted to like take over like the whole brand is what it seems like. So with all of this happening, this is happening behind the scenes, okay? And they're realizing that they're not even like close to making the deadline for these products, like even just for the Kickstarters. But they're also in a rock and a hard place because they don't want this to be all for nothing. Like they've invested, people have also invested and trusted in them. So they can't share with Kickstarter, like what is going on, or, like with the pledgers, what's going on behind the scenes with why people are waiting. As September comes and goes, there's nothing. And understandably, people are taking this to social media, expressing their frustration. And Peter and Jessica are like, okay, still understanding, but needing to take the high road. And they pretty much reply like, we hear you, we understand, but we weren't anticipating that there are some loose ends that need to be tied, and we just want to make sure that the product is top notch for you. So at this point, the shipping dates are to be determined. And that's pretty much what they say. They don't want to throw Lisa under the bus. They don't know how to, articulate that it's not like a them problem. So they're not saying anything. They're wanting everything to go. It got to the point where they actually brought in like a long-term industry consultant. And this person basically said to Jessica and Peter, like, respectfully, we understand the vision. Like, don't blame you at all. But the way that this is going, like, you need to go. You need to jump ship here. This is not going to end well. And at this point, they are beyond in deep, okay? They have the Kickstarter people to think about. They had already paid Lisa her almost $100,000 in advances by this point. And she's literally got them by the balls, okay? So Peter says while they are trying to like appease her, but since she's not wanting to deal with Jessica, like, a lot of it is on him, he agrees to go on a trip with her to Greece with her youngest son, Forrest. And that he says is because I believe it's like his family is from there somewhere. So he knows, like, went a lot, knows all the places to go. She also says, like, this is going to be for Forrest's birthday trip, but we'll also be able to like iron out all of this business stuff. So he's like, great, like, like we'll be able to like be together there to like really like focus and, put the pedal to the metal. This is going to be a good thing. Okay. Now, according to Peter, there was zero business done. And he says he basically on this trip was her personal assistant, like booking hotels, booking car rides, excursions, being the freaking driver sometimes. He was like Forrest's chaperone. He's the tour guide. He's the translator. He said, like, basically, like, he was like their bitch on this. And he's supposed to be like a collaborating business partner. He talked about like booking for calling to book for them like $5,000 a night presidential suites and like the nicest hotels, and he's like in $100 Airbnb. But he's like, like, I see the vision, and he's like, no, we never talked business. All this trip was to make Forrest's birthday good. Like, that's what Lisa would be like, like, make sure, like, just make sure it's good. Another reason he says that, he's going along with this and having a lot of hope and really needing like that, connection to make her happy, and this is really important, is because the part of their licensing agreement, so to have that licensing contract to use her name, was that agreement expired on December 31st, 2017. So they needed her at this point to re-sign. They already know that they're going to need her to re-sign because she's dragged this out for so long, and nothing has even not even shipped, but like a lot of it hasn't even like come into fruition. But they were at that like last part where like it was like, okay, finally she's good. Prototypes like are all ready to go. This is like the last stage, but they just know that even with it being the last stage and the product it's not going to come in time for that licensing agreement deadline. So sure enough, the licensing agreement comes up for renewal, and she's got to re-sign. And this time she changes things up big time. The royalty increases from $100,000 to $500,000, and her advances went from $250,000 per quarter to $125,000 per quarter. My God, I cannot even imagine what these people would have felt like. Like, oh my God. And again, like, what, you are by the effing balls. So they agree. Like, they're like, okay, because now they're seeing, they're like, at this point, like now we're done. Like, we've got the product and stuff like that. Like, we have no choice. So they agree. They pay her the first $125,000 in January and the next $125,000 in April. So at this point, with also her previous advances that she got while she was dragging her heels, she has made $500,000 just by, answering like some emails, going back, switching some designs and everything. And you've got all of these backers, all of these Kickstarters like pissed and thinking that they're being taken advantage of, and rightfully so. Jessica and Peter said that Kickstarter campaign raised around $475,000, and Lisa had pretty much taken it all. So there's no money left for the product manufacturing. Like, we finally got here. We've got the prototypes like ready to place the order. Well, you need money to place that order. Like they said they couldn't even pay their rent most times. They were eating nothing but like KD and cereal. So the backers are so pissed, on Kickstarter, and they're accusing Glam Dolls of scamming. They're also you know, like going after their family and friends, you know, going like really real life, threatening their parents and stuff like that, which like I don't get that. I'm like, don't go, we don't go real life, but you know, like when you've invested in something and you're not being feeling like people are being transparent with you, I do understand. But in the same sense, it's sad for Peter and Jessica, because it's like they can't tell the full story at this point, and behind the scenes, like they're so scared of losing everything, like just like they've lost everything. They've given the money to the woman who's got them by the balls, who's the name of the brand that they're trying to do a collaboration with. Like, it's just like so freaking sick. So I get where they would feel uncomfortable, and it's a shame that at that point they couldn't understand like what she was doing to this small company who had no experience with something like this behind the scenes. So it comes to the point, sadly, where Jessica makes the decision to leave the company in 2016. And, you know, she just says, like, my parents are blue collar. I've basically got my boyfriend trying everything possible to like support me and like, you know, have our backs like personally, so that I can just like continue giving everything that I can to make this dream happen. But it clearly was not going that way. And she said like the stress and the damage of it, like what it did to her, what it did to her relationship with Peter, who was like her best friend. She's like, I couldn't take it anymore. And then she thought, like, if I leave, like maybe Lisa would actually still let this happen for this brand that she still loved, you know, like, and her best friend that she still loved. And sweet sentiment, but if we had known, you know, like what we do now about Lisa, yeah, the big answer you already know is that abso-forking-lutely did not happen. And I do not know how people like Lisa Frank can fucking sleep at night. So as they approach the point of where they are needing some products to launch and they've got them ready, they are hit with the next $125,000 advance, right? Okay, like, so it's like quarterly. They get to that point. So now they have some of the products like ready to go. And then they've got the deadline's approaching, the $125,000. And she actually, if I'm not mistaken, could be lying. I'm so sorry if I am, but I feel confident either way. But I feel confident that I think she even had like moved it up a little bit, like even like weeks or days or something like that. Anyways, Peter's like, oh my God, like, fine, like, now we're here. Once we do this is going to generate income. It's going to make it worth it. So he pays the $125,000, and then she terminates the contract. Get to the point, can you imagine, of having the forking product ready to go, says she needs to get that advance first before we go live, sends the $125,000 when you've already made almost $500,000. And then she's just like, you know what? I actually don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to terminate the contract. Ma'am, you are the devil. Like, pure and utterly evil to do that to somebody like this indie brand. Like, oh my God. So everything stops in its tracks. They're done. Like, the contract's terminated. They can't, even if they had the product, they can't go forward with it because it's her name, right? Like, it's her. So all of these backers are so pissed when they find out, like, hey guys, like, after all of this, it's not happening. And again, like, I absolutely can understand this, but this is where it's like even more diabolical, because not only has she done this and destroyed these people's reputation, but she takes it a step further, and her team start reaching out to the backers from that Kickstarter, saying they wanted the project to go forward with Glamour Dolls, but the company unfortunately left her no choice. Didn't elaborate on what. It was just no choice. And then sprinkles in there that she never agreed to the Kickstarter campaign. So she holds no responsibility of, you know, like, them feeling cheated and frustrated. And that if they feel that way, to go to Glamour Dolls because she didn't agree with it. It's like, girly pop, you were at the headquarters. You were there. You're sending notes to people, replying to people in comments, thanking them online, saying like, we're so excited for this. Like, this absolutely destroys Peter and Jessica's reputation, which is so upsetting because like they lost everything to protect her, and then just to try to like upkeep their promises to other people. So they had to file for bankruptcy. And it's just like, I think like somebody who does that with that power imbalance, like being somebody at that name and just like using that influence to like string people along and basically scam them. Like, you're a fucking scammer. Oh, it actually makes me just like feel sick. I did go and check on their Instagram. They don't really have much on, like just thanking people for the support and, you know, like stay tuned if there's ever going to be something. But like up into this documentary, like there was nothing. They had filed for bankruptcy, not thinking that they could go and do anything. And I really hope that they, you know, maybe try like a different avenue. You know, running a business is so hard, but it's clear like, you know, they've got a vision and seem to have like really great intentions. They were just completely taking advantage of somebody that they, you know, we all thought we knew. And that's funny because it's like, no, we don't know them. So go and leave them some, you know, kind, uplifting words of support. And I felt so bad for them. So at this point, they are suing Lisa Frank. Allegedly, there's, you know, a number of things that they're going after. Importantly, though, it's like the financial exploitation and the broken promises, which I think, you know, is important because it's left them not only financially just like destroyed, but also emotionally. Like, this has ruined them. So we're just going to cap this off, though. I was like, oh my God, I forgot about this. Can you imagine what also this would have felt like for Peter and Jessica to just add a little bit of insult to the injury? Imagine their shock when they see, and I wonder if anybody's guessing this right now because I had forgot about it, but when they see that Morphe, the makeup brand Morphe, announced that they were doing a collaboration with Lisa Frank, which they did, and their palette, the same like Duotang or like Trapper Keeper that they had designed for their eyeshadows, like for the Glamour Doll ones, like you can see it as a prototype. That is their, oh my God, that's their collaboration with Morphe. Like, you can't have a soul, like, to just be like, oh, you know what? And I wonder, like, behind the scenes, I have wondered if, like, when all that Morphe, was it like Morphe like sees this, reaches out, has like I mean, obviously they're a bigger brand, much bigger brand, probably has like more to like oh my God, I don't know, it made me curious. It's like, how long did you freaking string them along, like, knowing this? But anyways, I think she's, oh my God, like, fuck you, Lisa Frank. Like, you just destroyed my freaking childhood. I think she's obviously like her own worst enemy. Her ego is clearly like just too big. And I don't think that she would ever be able to reach the success that she had again because of the ego that she like now has. Like, she was already lucky to like treat people like shit for as long as she did and make some money that she did. And then now it's like, babe, you had fallen off, you know? We just had like a new resurgence of 90s love, new people coming in and wanting that nostalgia again, and like to do something like this. And it makes me so mad that she got that, like, because I can only imagine what she would have got with Morphe to do that. So anyways, yeah, just beware. I think that this goes to show that despite, you know, like the glittering exterior and like the legacy of Lisa Frank, this is a cautionary tale for us all about the darker sides of these types of people in this industry and these icons that we just ride or die for and we know nothing about, you know? So I definitely suggest watching the documentary. Like, I cannot recommend it enough. It's 4 parts. So there's lots for you guys to binge. And then if you guys like hearing first account stories from many of the people who were harmed by not only James, but Lisa, they are in there. So I'm sorry if we, you know, if you were in the dark about this, like I was prior to the documentary, because, yeah, Lisa Frank, she no longer represents the glitter and colorful animals and, you know, rainbows for me anymore. And I fear she won't for you either. You know, now it's just this like dark, depressing rain cloud, no glitter, just dark days, right? So fuck you, Lisa Frank. I hope you're having the day that you deserve today, Lisa Frank. Okay, that is it for me today, you guys. I love you so much. Oh, riddle, reminder. The riddle is, what begins with T, ends with T, and has tea in it? And the answer is a teapot. I think it's so cute. Oh, there's some of these are just so cute. All right, if you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell a friend or two, maybe even, to also do that. You have no idea how much that helps me. I love and I appreciate you so much. I will see you in the next video. I will miss you terribly. Until then, make sure to love each other, love yourself, and I will see you soon. Bye.